Hi, Priyanka. Good to have you here. Thank you for joining us today on our Networking Now India IGTV. How are you doing?
Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for having me. I'm most excited. I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. How you been?
Good. It's been a tough couple of days. I think that this conversation which we're having is essential and it's come at the right time. We've been chatting for a long time to do something on this topic, but it couldn't have come at a better time because I think everyone's, thinking about this, talking about this, and unfortunately, these are circumstances where we all, the topic becomes about mental health, and it's of course about your well-being. But I look at it positively, and I think that when someone talks about mental health, it shouldn't be taken in a negative way, and it shouldn't be taken in a way of why are you going to a therapist. It should be go to a therapist, you will feel better. So I'm going to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about what you do and what the ThoughtCo is.
So, Sean, I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm a counseling psychologist. And essentially, what I do is I work with identifying mental health concerns and then formulating a therapy plan for those who need it. Now, the Thought Company is like an extension of me. What we work with is emotional and mental health care. And we have a team of psychologists who either are clinical psychologists or counseling psychologists. And similar to this, we work with creating plans and counseling therapy with assessments and also run workshops.
Yeah.
But now, because of the pandemic, most of us are working from home. So we moved this to an online platform. So we have Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, whatever medium is convenient, we tend to use it. And the one thing I want to point out is that because everybody's internet connection sometimes is unstable and all these devices are constantly being moody, we are very adaptable by moving from web WhatsApp to your WhatsApp video to your FaceTime to anything that's what's required.
Awesome. And has it been tough to kind of move people online, or has it been easy? Because I feel like with a therapist or somebody that you go to seek help from, a face-to-face connection is always, the thing that you look for. But has it been easy for you to move your clients online?
So it has been actually quite seamless. I think therapy online has become more solution focused, which is a very good thing. But there are some cons to it because we're losing out on the physical contact with somebody. A lot of non-verbal cues may get missed, but saying that the benefit of it is more or less the same. But I'm going to give a very honest disclaimer over here because I'm a big fan, I'm a big believer in honesty. Is that individual therapy is good online, but if I'm going for couples therapy or if I'm going for family therapy, I don't recommend an online platform because a lot of the dynamics which take place in a room is completely lost on an online platform.
Yeah, completely agree with you. So I'm going to get started, and today we are talking about a topic which is more related to the network that I have. It's about work stress, stress about working from home because that seems to be the new normal, and also just overall dealing with anxiety. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about how the last 3 months have been for you. What have you done to deal with this new normal? And is there anything that you've done differently which has made you feel better?
Honestly, when we went into lockdown, I myself was very scared about it because what resulted in this was a lot of uncertainty. I did not know what to expect. And I think the therapist mode just kicked in with me, and I use basic mindfulness techniques to ground myself, focus on what I need to do right now. And what I've realized is a lot of my clients come in with the anticipation of what's going to happen next. How do I plan for it? I think as a society, something we're collectively experiencing is called anticipatory anxiety. And the best way and the most effective way to manage this is to only plan for today or maximum the next day.
Yeah.
It is pointless and effortless trying to plan for a month from now because you and I both don't know. The government doesn't know what to expect a month from now. So just be very focused in my planning with blinders on just today and maximum tomorrow. The second thing, which I'm a very, very big believer in and something I try to be regular with during the lockdown, is exercise. Now, why exercise helps us is because it increases clarity of thought, helps us then with problem solving and decision making. And what has happened right now in the lockdown, people are confused. Again, coming from the anxiety of what should I do? How do I plan? How do I take care of myself? And in addition, it kind of helps us feel better. The happy hormones are released. And just being devoid of physical contact with our friends can result in a lot of feelings of sadness, and then boosting or giving yourself that injection with exercise really helps you cope with the situation better. You
I think
know,
that's it for me. You're absolutely right, because I've worked out from day one of the lockdown, and I think that that just gives me that happy feeling of even the fresh air, going to my terrace and just being out there, or now even just going for a walk down. It's that happy 1 hour that you get, so it stimulates the mind.
it definitely does, and also creates the sense of freshness to take on the day, because what is happening, we're all in these confined spaces, and we need to step away from it sometimes to come back with fresh eyes, look at work differently, look at our relationships differently, something I've noticed with a lot of my clients as well, jumping into this, is staying at home with their family has resulted in them being closer for sure, but also it's caused a lot of like distress.
Yes,
It's
yes.
causing frustration. How do I communicate with them? And almost gives you a feeling of being, I'm sick of this conversation. I'm sick
Yeah.
of seeing the same things like over and over again. Um, Stepping away from it as much as you can, at least for half an hour to an hour every day, does wonders for the relationship. It creates a sense of individuality as well.
Yeah, so I feel like even housewives, okay, who were home the whole day, and their husbands were out at work, their kids were out at work, suddenly they have everyone home 24/7, and they have to cook, and they have to be ready for the day, and they have to deal with everyone's moods. It's not easy. So I think you're absolutely right, taking a break and doing your own thing for a bit also really makes a difference.
I think the housewives are definitely having the hardest part of it all, because they had a lot of time for themselves, a lot of time to take care of themselves and nurture, and suddenly they've been robbed of all of it. The other ones have been put in hyper productivity mode because all the meals are now become their responsibility. And some of them struggle because they're not comfortable even sharing the work, because that used to be their domain. It had
Yes,
to be done their way.
yes, yes.
And my suggestion for them is allow and welcome help. It's okay if it's not done your way, as long as it gets done. This also helps the family share the load, and that's something as a unit people need to work towards.
Yeah, that's great points right there. Okay, so I'm going to also ask you, work from home, the new normal, it can be really stressful. I think a lot of people, everyone lives in a different dynamic. People in larger houses, people in smaller houses, people that are not used to sharing their space for such a long period. So what's
Mhm.
been your take on this? Any tips, that people can actually make it easier? Any courses or stuff they can read to really calm the mind? Like for me, I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. I've been, following a lot of positive videos and reading a lot, because I think that just keeping a positive mindset really helps, because I'm a person who's always on the move. I'm never sitting in one place.
Yeah, I know. I can see that. You're
Yeah.
always doing something.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's been just to center myself and keep myself positive. So what's your take on, is there anything that you followed, any tips for work from home and like less stress?
Mutual respect. Um, that is something I really believe will help everybody, because if I respect your need to have a quiet room right now while you get on a call, you will return the favor by respecting my need when I need to get on a call. I think the word mutual respect of realizing, hey, if I live with in-laws, I can't burden my mother-in-law with all of the like household tasks. I need to share it, or respect her need that she probably wants to watch that show every evening for those 2 hours. So I will give her the TV time at that point of time. Mutual respect creates a sense of understanding, creates a sense of willing to work together and teamwork. So we're all in this together, but if we're all going to try to stick to the way we used to function before, we're not going to survive this happily. We have to adapt. We have to realize other people's needs, prioritize some of their needs, look at our priorities and figure it out together. Create a whole new schedule. You cannot continue being in this pandemic with your existing schemas, your existing ways of functioning. You have to account for other people's functioning and then your own with it.
Yeah.
The second thing I'm going to use is the word cognitive flexibility. It's a really fancy word for just saying I have to be adaptable, keeping my intention in mind, but finding other creative ways for doing it. Something as simple as that, if I'm used to waking up in the morning and having my cup of coffee in a particular way, maybe right now my intention is to have that cup of coffee, but go about in a different way. Perhaps if my mother-in-law is using the kitchen at a point of time, step away, use a dining table to make that cup of coffee. Intention is the same, but how I go about doing it has to keep changing.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, this also works in a larger scheme of things because it's increasing like our adaptability muscle. Because as the lockdown keeps getting lifted, the way we approach society, the way we continue functioning is going to change. and it's going to change on a monthly basis. So if I'm going to stick to my existing routines, my existing schedules, I'm going to be the loser in this. So for me to adapt to it, I need to start creating different routines, different ways of functioning from home itself right now.
Absolutely agree. Really, it's really about adjusting to your surroundings. So you said that really well. Thank you for that. The other thing which I encourage a lot of people to do is create their own work tribe, and create people around you that really positively lift you up. So of course you have your friends and family, and you have friends that will always, like my go-to is when, say, your mother puts up a picture of you on Facebook, and you get 50 aunties or friends of hers being like, lovely, your daughter's amazing. That gives you that good feeling. Or also, when you're best friends, you share something on a group and you're like, way to go, keep going, great article. That's really, it helps in the positivity of it all. But how do you create that same feeling with a work tribe? So they may not be your best friends, but people that you've met at work that lift you up, that give you that positive reinforcement. Any tips for that? Because I think that works very positively on the mind as well.
So right now, looking at your work tribe and assuming they're all going to continue working from home, I think having weekly calls where you'll just unwind. Some of them have things like Zoom bar or like your chai Zoom, where you don't talk about work. You talk about life. You talk about the struggles, or you talk about the good parts of it, and identify what they've done well in the week. Taking time away from work conversations to regular conversations is very important. Secondly, I think what has also happened right now is because we're not working with each other, the banter, which was a part of a co-working space, does not exist. So making time just to engage in that banter really nurtures the relationships and helps build your work tribe. And always, like you said, pin their achievements, reinforce any struggle they may have had and they've overcome that, identify it and encourage it. Encourage them, motivate them, keep the good conversation going.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And we also did, for like with networking now, for the first 2 months, I did a weekly Monday Zoom introduction. So it's nice because you keep in touch, you get to meet new people. This is the time when people have time to kind of make introductions about their business. It helps one another, I think, overall.
Yeah. So I think reaching out to people and just introducing yourself is a great way to build your network. And you never know how things can materialize or where it materializes with it.
Absolutely agree. Okay, so the next thing I want to ask you, which is a little more detailed in the therapy process, is so I've been reading a lot of articles which I think are really unfair with Sushant Singh's the suicide, is that people say, oh, but his friends should have known, or his friends should have spoken about it. Now, let's not get into those details because they're sensitive and it's somebody else's life. But I'd like to ask you, as a friend, how would I be able to know if my friend is going through something? How do I know that it's time my friend needs to reach out to a therapist? Or how, vice versa, if I need a therapist and I feel like, so my friends should be able to identify that.
Okay. So there are multiple layers with this, and I'm going to start with the most basic one, which you can use to identify for yourself and also for your friend. If you notice any disturbance in their sleep, either they're sleeping too much or too little, any changes in appetite, eating too much or too little, or changes in their motivation levels, highly motivated, overproductive, which is not their normal, or underproductive. Oh. So any sudden changes on either
extreme, highly productive, it's even highly motivated.
Yeah. So either extremes, any changes in that is indicated that something is going astray in their life. There is some amount of distress over there. And that's a clear indicator to go out there and ask them, hey, what's up? A simple question, picking up the phone and saying, hey, how are you? How are things going? And a genuine how are you? Not the pleasantries of, hey, how are you? How's it going? Genuinely asking them, how are you? And, sometimes they may not want to share. And you have to learn to respect that. But communicating verbally is just one way of connecting with your friend. There are other ways to do that, going for a walk with them, doing a Zoom class with them, or even like writing an email to them how much you love them. It is good enough to connect with them. And now, even after that, your friend chooses to stay away and not want to talk about their concerns, identify 5 therapists within their area or close to them and say, these are the numbers, why not reach out to them? It's up to you. If you want, I will come with you for your first session. If not, do it by yourself. It's up to you. But giving them the resources and respecting their decision to take those resources or not is very important. See, there are two ways this can go. If I know something's wrong with somebody and I'll keep picking up the phone and asking them, they can get really irritated with me and then shut down completely. So you have to find a delicate balance, read the room that, okay, I've given you the resources, I'm respecting your individuality and what you need to do it, but also know I'm here for you. Being able to set those boundaries is very important.
Absolutely agree, Priyanka, because I think that there's two ways it can go. I didn't know that when you see a person highly motivated, this is something that I've learned as well, because a person does go into overdrive. So I think that that's absolutely right. And the other thing is knowing when to approach, because a friend can even just close out. Your friend can just be like, listen, this is too much. I'm not going to pick up your calls or whatever, however that goes. The second thing I want to ask you, Priyanka, is how do I know if I need a therapist? So if I'm going through a bad patch, yes, very. I mean, I've been to a therapist before. I've spoken to therapy. I've been to therapy maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, because I think it's not a bad thing. I think you get clarity. I think you get, you get direction. Also, it's unbiased because it's a person who doesn't know you. So I think that's just an opinion. But how do you know when to go to a therapist? What signs should I be looking for?
Look at your body. I'm a big believer in body work, because if you notice you tend to have frequent diarrhea, constipation, or you tend to sigh frequently, there is lack of clarity of thought, you're feeling overwhelmed very often. If you notice any changes in the somatic parts of your body, which is not a result of an exercise, any aches or pains, frequent neck aches or back aches, which is not a result of your working style, indicated that there's something going on emotionally, and therefore I need to go and speak to somebody. Your body never lies. Trust your body. You're more likely to have answers in there about what's going on with you than anywhere else. Second is your eat, sleep, exercise as well. Any changes in that on either end is an indicator of this. Third is that if you're having frequent outbursts, frequently getting angry, frequently getting sad, that's an indicator as well that you need to go and speak to someone. For a change in your productivity level, if it's dropping, you need to go speak to somebody too. I'm also going to plug in over here that very often our friend may give us a therapist. Okay, this is a therapist that worked for me, go meet that person. Great, it may have worked for your friend, but it may not work for you. So it does not mean you don't go see another therapist. I'm a big believer in therapist shopping. Go find a therapist who gets your vibe, can speak your language, understands your mindset and where you're going from and where you want to go with it. A lot of individuals who are queer need to go to a queer affirmed therapist because they understand you better, as opposed to going to a therapist who doesn't understand this whole spectrum. Because then your whole interaction with the whole process will be skewed to something not being comfortable for you. If it didn't work for you with person A, go to person B. There are enough therapists to go around, and there will be someone who gets you and gets your vibe.
Absolutely agree. I like that word therapist shopping, because what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. So absolutely agree. The last thing I want to ask you before we talk about the thought poll is anything that you can suggest that we can do on a daily level, like a daily basis, to kind of reduce stress. Like, you're right, I do find myself a bit stressed these days because I don't know what's next. Like you said, don't think about what's 1 month from now, think about tomorrow. So anything that you can suggest that we can do, every day, maybe watch something, listen to a podcast, or any tips that you have?
So journaling is my go-to exercise. At the end of the day, try to journal. Now, there are 2 journal exercises you can do. One is 15 minutes of uninterrupted writing, where you just keep writing for 15 minutes by the clock. And if by chance you've ended your sentence at the leaf is green, but you still have time on the 15 minutes, you keep writing the word green, green, green until another thought comes in. So it's one way to get really deep into your subconscious mind. That's one technique. The second one is that you identify something good about your day, something challenging about your day, and something you're looking forward to the next day. You can follow this structure. Now, the reason why is that it creates positive frameworks. It also accounts for the fact that you still need to grow with the challenge. And third, it's creating a thread of hope between each day. And journaling is something which I really encourage because it provides clarity of thought. It gives you your own sense of rational thinking. Second is exercise. Big believer in it, really helps with your mental health. And third is deep breathing. Now, deep breathing, it means slow breathing, not fast breathing. A lot of people struggle with this initially. So what I do with younger kids is that I do connect the dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you breathe in. 4 to 8, you hold your breath. 8 to 12, you breathe out. And 12 to 16, you hold your breath. So if you repeat this 4 times, this really helps ground you, and centers you. So these are my 3 go-to techniques for anybody who's struggling with mental health, or you just feel a little overwhelmed as well.
Yeah, these are great points. I hope that people can follow this, because I think that even if you're not suffering with something major, I think that just that peace of mind for your everyday. So I was watching a very nice YouTube video actually about what you should watch before you sleep, because that's what dominates your mind, for the next day, and like that adds to your dreams and your thoughts. So I think positivity, and like today's social media and news can add a lot of negativity as well, so maybe to like switch off from that way before.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's great you mentioned these 2 things, is because, I mean, allocate only like 15-20 minutes per day, probably in the first half of your day or in the third quarter of your day for news consumption. Definitely not the last thing at night, because they say the critical filter, which separates the conscious mind, subconscious mind, is weaker at that point of time. So whatever information you take in before you go to sleep rests in your subconscious mind. So be more mindful of that. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Priyanka, before I leave you, please tell me about the ThoughtCo. How can people get in touch with you both ways? 1, to avail of your services, and 2, if there's anyone on our platform that wants to work with you and collaborate with you, how can they do that?
So they can just drop us a message on